Mississippi State, Georgia. Now, I'm going to start with this question. Is Georgia not good? Now, hold on. Is Georgia not good compared to what we thought Georgia would be, which is some untouchable imperial? They're going 12-0 without resistance. It kind of feels like they're just like everybody else at the top of the SEC, right?
I did an interview today for my podcast with Jordan Hill from Dogs 24/7, and I asked him something similar to that. I was like, have we seen the best of Georgia this year? I thought the best Georgia played this season was in their first game against Clemson. And they were really solid in that game, dominated that team from start to finish. Since then, I don't feel like we've seen the best of them. Struggled with Kentucky, fell behind by 28 points to Alabama. This past weekend, it really felt like they were just kind of going through the motions with Auburn more than anything else. So there's two sides to that, right? You might catch them, just kind of doing the same thing with Mississippi State this weekend, or it could be they show up focused and you see the best of Georgia and it's a bloodbath. In the preseason, my thought process around this game was kind of, obviously I thought State was going to be better. I really thought State was going to go into this game 4-1, maybe 3-2 at worst. But also I thought Georgia would be undefeated and you might catch them looking ahead to Texas. You might have that opportunity where you catch them looking ahead and you can make it a more interesting game because they're just not fully focused on you. You don't have that luxury anymore because now Texas or Georgia knows they might have one more loss. They don't have two for sure. So they'll be locked in for this one. I expect to see you might be unlucky if you're Mississippi State and see the best of Georgia this weekend.
Yeah, saw a quote from Isaac Smith, and now look, so you can't read too far into player quotes sometimes. And we've heard stuff like this before from players on teams that are bad and are still bad, and the locker room was in shambles, et cetera. But still. Isaac Smith talking about how the vibes are actually improving, like the feeling, the attention around the facility is actually better now than it was a few weeks ago. And may or may not be true, we'll see. But the fact that a leader is saying that should be encouraging. Like we talked about after the Texas game. Despite the losses, it was clear that the team is still buying what is being sold to them by their coaches, which is an important thing. And so that just kind of further, enhances that feeling.
Yeah, and that's something that, I say all the time is playing hard is kind of the minimum. But when you have a team that's, lost games like Mississippi State has this year, it's very easy to let it get away from you. And the coaches, whatever they're saying, starts falling on deaf ears. Did not appear to be the case. And Levy, it's very coach speaky, but he talks about the energy in the building a lot, and he says he feels like it's good. And I don't know if he would come out and say, hey, I didn't feel like our focus was good because he hasn't had a chance. He hasn't done it yet. So, he may just be coach speaking us every week. But
which, we probably get more of that from him.
Yeah, I would agree. But I think State, like you said, they're still bought in. You've got some young guys who are going to get opportunities to play. Van Buren, obviously chief among them. And I think if this, after this week, at some point you're going to start seeing more of the younger guys getting into the game, I think. Mm-hmm. Just because you want to start laying the foundation for next year. This season's a wash. It just is what it is at this point. You got to start laying that foundation and getting guys, trying to figure out who you can count on for next year and knowing where you're going to have to go look in the portal.
Yeah. Russ says, I've only been to regular season college football games in Starkville, Oxford, and Tuscaloosa. May have to make Athens a destination. You should.
It is the best college town in America. There's no question about it in my mind. If you enjoy going out and having a good time, Athens, Georgia is the place for you.
What is it, 100 bars?
Isn't
that what they say? They've got 100 bars.
It's like a clean New Orleans. It's like if Bourbon Street didn't smell like shame, urine, and cat feces.
Ocean Springs gives off.
Ocean Springs
gives off.
Ocean Springs is a college town without a college.
Yeah, that'd be a great college town.
Oh, if you put that strip in Starkville, Oxford, or Hattiesburg, it'd be incredible.
Yeah. Well, good stuff there. Looking forward to seeing what State's got ahead of them this weekend and seeing if they can rise to the challenge again, and seeing a young quarterback with a little bit of film out on him now, and et cetera, et cetera. I'm just not convinced that Georgia's any different. And I mean, they lost the game, obviously, but it was on the road, and they should have won. Yeah. But I think that they are more likely to be like Tennessee, Ole Miss, et cetera, than they are to be, going to just run through the rest of their schedule and win the SEC with ease. Texas is the only team in the league that looks like it's on a tier above everybody else. I mean, they went to Michigan and were dominant. But what happens if they go to Dallas this weekend and lose?
Yeah. That's the thing about the SEC this year is I feel like we've got a little more parity than we've ever had. Now, the teams at the top are still the teams at the top, but Vanderbilt has beaten Alabama. Tennessee has lost to Arkansas. Kentucky has beaten Ole Miss.
Yeah. Missouri got smoked.
Missouri, well, I mean, but A&M is in that tier. They're closer to the top than they are the bottom. It's definitely Georgia. I don't know that Georgia has a bad loss coming. I don't think it's this weekend, obviously, but looking at Georgia's schedule, it's just so tough that they have to get up for these. They have so many of these games they have to get up for. Could they drop a game? Who do they play here? Could they drop? I mean, Florida.
If Florida's still engaged,
yeah. Georgia Tech is not a pushover.
No.
So I mean. There's just some opportunity.
So what? They're in Knoxville.
They're in Oxford, Knoxville, and Austin still.
Wow.
I mean, that's what I'm saying, though. Is like, let's say they go and they beat Texas, right? Then they have a bye week. Then they play the cocktail party. If Florida is still kind of, like you said, kind of engaged, they'll be all over ruining Georgia's season. Stuff like that. So, yeah.
And Lagway did some things last week.
Yeah, so there's just... This season, there's just some parity that we haven't had in years. I mean, 5 years ago, Vanderbilt's not beating Alabama.
No.
Doesn't matter. 5 years ago, that Arkansas team playing Tennessee loses by 40. So we've found some parity. The portal has done the job for 15 of the teams in the conference of creating a more even playing field as much as you possibly can. I mean, Georgia, Texas, Alabama, they're still recruiting 5 stars at almost every position.
But they don't stay.
But they don't stay. So you're getting some of those guys. The problem is they just replace them with another 5-star. So the talent level doesn't go down. What happens is some of those talented guys now find their way to other teams.
Yeah, like Jaheim Otis at Alabama, they changed scheme, and because of that, his role dramatically changes on the team. And there's a 5-star defensive lineman in the portal. I have a guess, and that's all I have as to where he's going, but still, somebody, not Alabama, is going to have a 5-star defensive lineman that has played like that